Felix Tito Trinidad didn't fight for attention. He fought with purpose, pride, and the fire of an entire island burning in his chest. He wasn't the biggest man in the ring, but he carried something heavier, Puerto Rico's spirit, its hopes, its roar. And when that bell rang, Tito became a hurricane in gloves, relentless, electric, and lethal. His left hook wasn't a punch, it was prophecy. His pressure? Unforgiving. Opponents didn't just lose to Trinidad, they were consumed by him. Three-division world champion, national icon, pay-per-view star. Tito didn't just dominate, he electrified an era, fighting legends and forging his name in the fire of war. While others boxed to survive, he fought to conquer. And beyond the belts, he built a fortune that mirrored his greatness. Beachfront mansions, a fleet of exotic cars, and respect that money can't buy. Pride, family, and legacy. That's what Tito fought for. So, before we unpack the rise, the reign, and the raw brilliance of Trinidad, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell. This isn't just boxing. This is the legend of Tito. Felix Trinidad was born on January 10th, 1973, in Fajardo, Puerto Rico, a place known for its warm winds and rolling waves, but it would become known for something far fiercer. From the moment he first stepped into a ring, there was an energy about him, a quiet storm building behind wide eyes and thundering fists. You could feel in the air, this wasn't just a boy with gloves. This was destiny with a mouthpiece. By the time he was 17, he had already taken Puerto Rico by storm, winning 5 national amateur championships and capturing the imagination of a nation hungry for a new hero. But it was in 1993, at just 20 years old, that the world began to understand who Felix Trinidad really was. He didn't just win the IBF welterweight title against Maurice Blocker. He ripped it away with a knockout so emphatic it echoed far beyond the ropes. That night, a champion was born, and he wasn't going anywhere. For the next 7 years, he defended that title 15 times with a ruthless mix of power, timing, and heart. Fans didn't just admire him, they followed him like a force of nature. Then came the fight that would change everything. Trinidad versus De La Hoya. 2 undefeated titans. One unforgettable night. When the dust settled, Tito stood tall, crowned not just a unified champion, but a global superstar. He climbed through weight classes like a man possessed, unifying light middleweight titles with a crushing win over Fernando Vargas, then flattening William Joppy at middleweight in yet another display of pure destruction. But even the most relentless warriors meet resistance. In 2001, Bernard Hopkins stopped him in a shocking upset that sent tremors through the sport. And yet, even then, Trinidad never lost the love of the fans. In 2004, he came roaring back, knocking out Ricardo Mayorga like a man rewriting his own myth. He hung up his gloves in 2008 after one last battle against Roy Jones Jr., leaving behind a legacy few could ever match. 42 wins, 35 by knockout, a Fighter of the Year award, and a place in the International Boxing Hall of Fame. Today, with an estimated net worth of $30 million, he remains more than a legend. He's a symbol, a hero, a hurricane in human form. But what fueled that fire? What drove him to fight not just for victory, but for something far greater? That's the story we're about to tell. From a moment he threw his first professional punch, there was something electric in the air, something unmistakable. You didn't just watch a Trinidad fight. You felt it in your chest, in your gut, like thunder rolling in from the ocean. He was only 17 when he stepped into the ring for the first time as a pro. March 10th, 1990. Most kids his age were still figuring out who they were. But Trinidad already knew. He announced himself with a knockout, flattening Angel Romero in the second round. That wasn't just a win, it was a warning shot. In his first 10 fights, 9 ended with the opponent staring up at the lights. Puerto Rico knew they had a phenom on their hands. The rest of the world was just beginning to catch on, but it wasn't all smooth sailing. In December 1991, he faced Jake Rodriguez and broke his hand early in the fight. Lesser fighters would have folded. Not Trinidad. He boxed smart, adjusted his game, and won on points. And when he recovered, he came back more dangerous than ever. Then, June 19th, 1993, his moment arrived. Maurice Blocker, the IBF welterweight champion, stood across from him. Blocker was experienced, technical, and tough. Tito ended him in the second round. Just like that, at only 20 years old, he became a world champion. Throughout the 1990s, he ruled the welterweight division with the fury of a hurricane. He defended his title 15 times. 15. That's not just dominance, that's a dynasty. And he didn't pick easy fights. He sought out danger and danced with it. Hector Macho Camacho, the flamboyant veteran, tried to slow him down in 1994. Tito outworked and outpunched him. Yuri Boy Campos dropped him early that same year, but he rose up with vengeance in his eyes, broke Campos' nose, and handed him his first loss. Obakar tried the same trick, scored a knockdown. But Tito didn't panic. He pounced. Knockout in the 8th. That became his signature. You could hurt him, you could drop him, but you could never break him. In fact, hitting Tito hard was like flipping a switch. It awakened something terrifying. His knockout streak and warrior spirit made him a Showtime staple, a fighter whose bouts were guaranteed fireworks. But it wasn't just power, there was poetry in the violence. Watch him against Freddie Pendleton or Larry Barnes. Watch the way he sets up his left hook with a feint, or how he walks through fire to land a body shot. He wasn't just fighting to win. He was fighting like he had something to prove. In 1999, he fought the defensive master, Pernell Whitaker, a man known for making great fighters look foolish. But Trinidad stayed disciplined. He boxed smart, knocked Whitaker down, and took a commanding decision. That same year came the bout everyone had been waiting for. Trinidad versus Oscar de la Hoya. The Golden Boy versus the Caribbean King. A unification fight that carried the weight of two nations. It was a tense, tactical chess match. De la Hoya danced and jabbed, stealing rounds early. But in the championship rounds, he coasted. Tito surged. The judges rewarded the pressure, and Trinidad took the win by majority decision. Controversial? Yes. But what mattered more was the moment. He had conquered the welterweight world, and now he was looking for new mountains. He found them at 154 pounds. First, David Reed, an Olympic gold medalist and a rising star. Reed dropped Trinidad, but it only seemed to anger him. Tito turned up the heat, pounded Reed with body shots, and sent him to the canvas 5 times before winning a lopsided decision. Then came Fernando Vargas, young, hungry, undefeated. A war broke out. He floored Vargas twice in the opening round, but Vargas roared back, even dropping Tito once. It didn't matter. In the 12th, Trinidad unleashed hell. 3 knockdowns later, the fight was over. It was one of the most savage, brilliant performances of his career, and it proved what fans had known for years. Felix Trinidad wasn't just a great fighter. He was a force of nature. In 2001, he stepped up again, this time to middleweight, entering Don King's unification tournament. First, he obliterated William Joppy with a 5th-round TKO that sent shockwaves through the division. He was now a 3-division champion, and the final challenge loomed, Bernard Hopkins. They were supposed to meet on September 15th. Then came 9/11, and the world changed. When it finally happened on September 29th, Hopkins had a plan, and he executed it perfectly. He frustrated Tito, wore him down, and in the 12th, ended his unbeaten run. It was Trinidad's first loss. But even in defeat, he didn't fade quietly. He went out on his shield, the only way he knew how. After that, he disappeared from the spotlight. For nearly 3 years, the boxing world wondered, was that it? But in 2004, the roar returned. Trinidad came back and demolished Ricardo Mayorga, sending fans into a frenzy. It was like watching a phoenix rise from the ashes, stronger, meaner, more determined. But the sport had changed. In 2005, Winky Wright's jab-heavy, defensive style nullified Tito's offense. He lost by unanimous decision. It was clear the fire still burned, but the magic was harder to summon. 3 years passed before one final act. In 2008, Trinidad faced Roy Jones Jr., another faded legend. Tito showed flashes, he always did, but Jones dropped him twice and took the decision. The curtain had fallen. His final record? 42 wins, 35 knockouts, just 3 defeats. Titles in 3 weight classes. A decade of destruction. But stats don't tell the story. Not really. Because Tito's legacy wasn't built just on belts or knockouts. It was built on moments. The roar of the crowd when he walked into the ring. The comeback knockdowns. The pride he brought to Puerto Rico every time he raised his fists. But the next chapter wasn't about punches. It was about presence. And Felix Trinidad was far from finished. Long before the roaring crowds and championship belts, Tito Trinidad's story began in the quiet hills of Cupi Alto, Puerto Rico. There, he met Sharon Santiago, the woman who would become the love of his life. Their romance wasn't instant. It grew slowly, built on respect and quiet persistence. Tito, already chasing boxing dreams, tried to win her heart with youthful charm, even cruising the neighborhood in a cherry red Mustang. But Sharon's father, wary of the uncertain life of a fighter, wasn't easily impressed. Still, Tito's sincerity broke through. With the support of a neighbor who vouched for him, he eventually earned Sharon's love and her family's trust. Together, they built a life rooted in love, raising 5 daughters who became his greatest pride. Despite global fame, Tito never strayed from his roots. He remained grounded, walking among his people with warmth and humility. And when hurricanes struck Puerto Rico, he didn't just send help. He showed up in person, helping rebuild what was lost. His compassion went far beyond the ring, supporting youth, education, and countless lives. For all his titles, the one he cherished most was Dad. To his people, he's more than a boxing icon. He's a symbol of heart, resilience, and home. After years of dominating the boxing world with explosive power and a fearless heart, Tito now lives a life as grand and vivid as the legacy he forged inside the ring. The thunderous cheers may have quieted, but the mark of his greatness still resonates. In the way he moves through his days, surrounded by the comforts hard-earned through a career defined by blood, sweat, and unforgettable glory. Nestled within the lush landscapes of Puerto Rico, Tito's home is more than just a residence. It's a living monument to a champion's journey. Elegant and expansive, every inch reflects the man who built it. Deliberate, proud, and deeply connected to his roots. Here, memories of roaring arenas and championship belts fade gently into the warmth of family dinners and tranquil sunsets. It's a sanctuary where past triumphs and present peace exist side by side. Outside the quiet sanctuary of his home lies another passion that reveals a different side of his taste for excellence: the world of luxury automobiles. His garage is a carefully curated collection that whispers stories of speed, prestige, and craftsmanship. Sleek Mercedes-Benz sedans and SUVs line the space, each polished to a mirror finish, showcasing a preference for refined power and comfort. Classic BMWs sit alongside them, embodying a blend of precision engineering and timeless style. But whispers among friends and insiders suggest his collection doesn't stop there. The occasional flash of red or yellow hints at something more exotic. A Ferrari or Lamborghini, perhaps, hidden away, ready to roar to life when the thrill of adrenaline calls. For a man who once danced with danger in the ring, trading punches with legends like De La Hoya and Vargas, these cars are more than possessions. They are extensions of his relentless pursuit of excellence, this time expressed through speed and style. Beyond cars, Tito's appreciation for the finer things extends into other luxurious possessions that speak to his success and discerning eye. From bespoke watches glinting on his wrist, timeless pieces crafted by master horologists, to finely tailored suits that carry the elegance befitting a global sports icon. Every detail reveals a man who knows the value of quality and legacy. His taste in art, collected quietly over the years, adds a subtle character to his home, reflecting both his Puerto Rican heritage and a worldly perspective earned through years on the international stage. Yet, despite the luxury and acclaim, Tito remains firmly grounded. At his core, he is still the humble boy from Cupi Alto who fell in love with boxing and never looked back. His days now unfold in quiet reflection, filled with family moments and a deep commitment to his community, far removed from the chaos of fight camps and weigh-ins. Occasionally, he steps back into the spotlight, whether at charity events, boxing tributes, or surprising appearances in professional wrestling. But his heart remains focused on what truly matters: his loved ones and the island that made him. Felix Trinidad's lifestyle today is more than a reward. It's a celebration of a life well fought. A champion inside and out of the ring, he lives with gratitude, never forgetting the people and places that shaped his story. His legacy didn't end with the final bell. It continues quietly and powerfully in every corner of his home, in the hum of his engines, and in the genuine smiles shared with those fortunate enough to know the man behind the legend. Before you go, don't miss out on exclusive perks. Click the link in the description to become a channel member and enjoy awesome benefits, like suggesting future video topics, getting early access to new content 48 hours before anyone else, and much more. Your support means the world and helps us keep bringing you the stories you love. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe for more amazing content. And while you're here, why not check out our deep dive into Lennox Lewis video? Trust me, you won't want to miss it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.